All right. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Hits Africa Radio's Newsfile UK. It's been a while. I mean, we had a break in about, a couple of weeks, but thankfully we're back this morning. I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that, we've been there. That's the second month in this year. And then thankfully we're back again. Now, the good thing is, um, one of the reasons why we're here is actually to talk about the summary of the whole year's, the whole week's events as we do it. That's why we don't do Monday to Friday, but at least. My name is Dr. Morton. You're welcome to this edition of the Hits Africa Radio. We have so many topics to discuss, and what saddens me most is actually the passing of our brother Achu Chasam, whose death due to the earthquake that occurred in how do we call it, in Turkey, took his life. But thankfully, we believe that all the good things he did for Ghana. I'm sure that is why Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo have decided to give him a befitting burial. Um, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Now, some of the topics we're here to discuss this morning is you all know that next year is an election year, and most Ghanaians with their supporting parties will be looking forward to, vote for the best choice of presidential candidate. And this is how we do it. In fact, I don't want to make it look as if we are, being in a haste to look at how, we're going to conduct the election. But would you suggest that we should have security, very tactical one, so that there wouldn't be um, any problem when it comes to people taking the ballot boxes, or people running away with the ballot boxes that will cause chaos, that will lead to people's um, you know life. Now, one thing I have realized is this: I think we only talk about the fact that we all want peace in the country, but it looks as if we it actually falls on deaf ears prior to the election that we don't want to people to lose their lives because of the elections 2024. Well, I believe it's actually going to be tense because we've had several occasions where um, you know people have misbehaved with or without the police cautioning us to some of the imaginary lines one has to go not to get any problem. But let's listen to a few music. We'll come back and then we'll see how it goes.
Man, I've been busting 97, I never care about the devil. Man, I've been busting 97, I never care about the devil. Since 17, I've been smoking hot like a kettle. Anytime I know it's less, I never settle. Get it running on the track, I deserve a medal. Or maybe some diamonds. shining on my bezel. Are they on my level? Man, I'm still a rebel. When you one day on the rate, are you even normal? Man, I'm on a different lane, no, to keep it formal. I decoration, you know, I just so you know. If I think you're moving funny, I'll be some local. Cause my music is one thing that I take personal. Don't compare me to nobody, I despise, you know. I'm the fresh, you know. It's impossible. So yeah, I know to leave, I must be done, you know. So you say I know I really do the song, you know. I'll be singing for my back until I call, you know.
911, what's your emergency?
Man, I dey off, or ring go now, be no see. You never like a Burj Khalifa. I should marry wrong, my nigga. I feel to put that on my mother. The money can't impress my niggas. Now if you touch my hand, I go feel like. When you for talking plenty, sit down, watch us, we do for setting. Ring go now, be no see. The level like the Burj Khalifa. I should marry wrong, my nigga. I feel to put that on my mother. The money can't impress my niggas. Now if you touch my hand, I will feel like. When you for talking plenty, sit down, watch us, we do for setting. When you move on, be no see. The level like the Burj Khalifa. I should marry wrong, my nigga. I feel to put that on my mother.
So here we are. I'm actually going to take the topics one after the other, and so we're going to take one of the topics one after the other, and then we see how it goes. Okay, so tell me your views. If we look at now, Ukraine is celebrating its anniversary with the war they had with Russia, and we're considering all of this, as some of the topics to discuss. And then in Nigeria, hopefully, I get my brother Idris, who is a journalist in Nigeria, to help us to delve much into the whole conversation, because he, as a Nigerian, knows what's happening on the ground. We've seen some few videos going around which is getting a bit violent. I only pray it wouldn't be as it is. So just let me look at your view, and I'm going to look at what my panels, if they're ready, we get talking very soon.
Hello. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my divine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow.
Projector systems are offline. Number one for today's hits and all-time favorites.
This Africa Radio is number one. This Africa Radio is the best. If you didn't say so, keep your dial right here and keep it locked.
Finally, I find way to talk to the girl, but she ain't no one follow. When you gonna phone for one? When you know I go for one? Then I start to feel a bum one. But she did give me small one. I know, so she's a people sit down one. But she feeling insecure, cause her friends could they come my light drink go on. Could they come my light drink go on?
Yeah, I know we look shy, but for you I get down low. And my hips make you cry when I'm moving around you. Do it once, do it twice. I push back, you hold me tight. Get a taste for a night. Baby, show me you can calm down, calm down. Dance with me and take the lead now, lead now. Got you so high that you can't come down, come down. Don't you ask, you know you're allowed, allowed. When it's you, I can't say no. Baby, give me the you got me like Baby, got me As I reach my house, I see me got a small wall. As me, I wake up, now she did my mind don't walk. Day one, day two, one of you folk go us. Now so me, I go down, so make me link go walk. Got my hand on your heart now, I can feel it race. If I leave, then you say you can never love again. Wanna give you it all, but can't promise that I'll stay. And that's the risk you take. It's too much.
Okay, so welcome back. Now, at least to say if my guess, I've not seen anyone yet. I'm only hoping they've got the notification as we do it every day because I've sent them the link. And let me discuss some of the topics we have this morning to talk about. First of all, we have the UN chief who condemns the Ukraine war ahead of, the anniversary that seems to be going on in Ukraine. Nigeria, as I said earlier, we've seen videos that is going around with some of the citizens burning items, all in support of perhaps one candidate, or the fact that they're not happy with what's going on. I'm going to see if I can get Idris, my colleague, who is going to update me about what is happening in Nigeria. Let's see what he says. Give me 1 minute. I'll come back to you.
She did dance to the jiggy choir master, I go voice for the beating up and down, slow down, girl, push it up. Any bad man come close, kill him between. Walk it, my heart is pumping, something about you, pop and locking. When I'm with you, I'm missing nothing. I am walk it, my heart is pumping, something about you, pop and locking. When I'm with you, I'm missing nothing. Your love, your
You are listening to It's a Freak Radio.
waiting be this one like this. Been through many things, many gist.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Mr. Idris and then talk to him and see what he has for us about what's going on in Nigeria. Hello, good morning, sir. How are you, sir? How is it? Ushi Baba, thank you very much to have availed yourself, this morning to have decided to help us with what's going on in Nigeria. It's been a while. Hope the family and everyone, and I mean yourself, you're doing very well. Uh, oh yeah, we haven't spoken this year. I think you called me within the Christmas festivities to greet me in a season greetings, but whatever it is, Happy New Year. I know the year is far gone, but whatever it is, it's not too late. But um can I ask you how you feel currently about what is going on in Nigeria, please?
Yeah, personally, and I will provide historical background to my people, which I feel very good about Nigeria election.
Right, before you go on, let let people know who I'm talking to now. Idris is actually a Nigerian journalist who lives here. Is actually my mates. We're all media personnel who live side here in the United Kingdom. He's been very helpful when it comes to issues pertinent to where he's coming from, the experience he has in line of. Yes,
And for many years, I was the government correspondent in their state.
there you go. Wow,
Nigeria.
God bless you,
I
sir.
say
Hmm.
that was election. And that's why I said you will stream the people who have been reading international news about the crisis going on in Nigeria, very possible Nigeria election.
Hmm.
And I provide background.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
And this, the Nigerians have had this experience of crisis, reporting of crisis as election approach.
Hmm.
But if you look at all the election analysis that show
Hmm.
it's always about noise in the media,
Okay,
but they will just go
right.
and they will just go. That is not saying that there will not be pocket of practice.
Hmm.
Something like that is naturally. Anybody who is familiar with the African election will know that it's become a national thing for us, become a tradition for us
Hmm.
to have this overreaching interests in
Right.
the party on there. But personally and generally and holistically, I feel the day we go tomorrow, that's on the 25th of February, and it will be recorded as a national like any other election.
Hmm.
Nigerians will count the votes, they will defend their votes, the police will do their job, criminals will be arrested, those who want to vote will be arrested, and election will be announced. I have very positive interest in Nigeria that the president has decided to go. He's a man of his words. He will never intervene in that election. Nigeria will record election, and the next president will be sworn. There's nothing. Nigeria's tomorrow's election is going to come, and it just will go like any other day. So, based on that fact,
Mhm.
I am very positive that the election will take place, and nothing will disrupt the peace and tranquility of that country.
Now, let me ask you, sir. What I want to know is, it looks as if all the African elections, there's always been this general feeling of insecurity surrounding it. Anytime we seems to have go to the ballots, what is there any reason you think as the situation as a third world country has its effect on it as well?
Yes, there is, and that's also comes from our pattern of election. The kind of government we run is a winner takes all, and the part of the world where politics still dominates our daily life. That's the problem there. Our people tend to all hope on politicians, and sadly, because of the manner of governance we've been entrenched in that part of the world, we look up to the leader always. No. And except we change that to realize to allow the private sector to lead the economy of that continent, we're still going to have this government. It is because of that thing that it's politics that takes the lead rather than the private sector, rather than the policies of government. People build on government, the policies of government. People build on politicians. You understand what I'm saying?
I
In
do
this part of the
understand
world,
perfectly.
in the cares about what leads you. There are profound policies that every person can have. And you can go to your house, you apply for your passport, and it's delivered to you. But in that part of the world, you have to know somebody to be able to do something. When such happens, people over interested because they think that it's if their party wins that they can derive benefits.
That's right.
From government. That's where the problem is.
Oh, right. And
if the party wins, except the party wins, you cannot derive benefit from government. That's where the problem is. Until we make governance different from, until we make politicians different from government, until politicians become different from government, government is for the people. Politicians only come and assist you to do things and go away. We are enduring policies and it takes a long process. So until we separate governance from politicians will come and go. The government will remain because the people are the government.
Right.
People do not know that politicians will come and go in for 4 years or 5 years. But the civil service, which is the engine for which the policies of government are implemented, remains alive. And that is where we need to focus more to ensure that whoever wins, whether you support my party or don't support my party, whether I'm in government or not, so some basic principles of governance that must continue to go, irrespective of who becomes leader. Until we need to do that, people will be better interested in politicians who lead government. And that is where we are getting it wrong.
But
you don't need the prime minister in this country to go to NHS.
No.
You don't need the prime minister to need police matter.
Yes.
But in that part of the world, the government, finally the central government, it takes everything. That is where the problem is. We know the politics between Sadiq Khan and the central government in this country. But it doesn't interfere with government.
Right.
They play their politics when the election comes in, but government runs.
But can I ask you one particular question relating to what you're talking about? Now, my problem is, as time has proven, it looks as if people have become very civilized and have what we call an eye-opener event sort of has taken place, from days. Now, if we're still talking about the benefits people get, and so that affects their way of voting or the choices they make with respect to that. Has it not gone past the time where we rather look at what we benefit instead of what lies ahead in future? That builds the whole country holistically.
Yeah, let me relate that to two important things for you. You have the culture, the people, and you have the people's religion. Tell me, in those two, tell me where is civilization in those two things I mentioned? No, because these are the real people. No matter how civilized you are, you want to guide your movement because you believe that is you. Whatever the level of civilization in this country, you know how many religion we have in this country because you are like that, because this country allows you to be who you are when you come into this country. You want to be a Muslim, go ahead and be a Muslim. You want to be a Christian, go ahead and be a Christian. Buddhism, go ahead and do your own. That level of freedom that civilized world have given to you also transported into religion and culture. That is exactly where I'm going in African politics. Traditionally, you see, these things are handed over to even. Okay, I'm very happy that you and I know that we have attended conferences in this country that is MPP, APC, your country too. And you also realize that people living in Britain attend those things based on their party affiliation, people from Ghana.
Oh yeah, I admit that 100%. I really admit that 100%.
A very partner in this country is a Ghanaian. That when Ghana election is coming, you will think he lives in Ghana. He will destroy opposition party to you in this country, and he's never been at home. That's because when I ask him, he tells me, in my area, my father, my grandfather are always this party.
Mm.
This man who has been in Europe for more than something years.
Wow. Wow.
And he carries that tradition. He will go and make the paraphernalia of that party every time the election is coming. This is a man who has been in Europe, stayed in Italy for many years, back in UK now for more than 15 good years. And yet, he behaves as if he's in Ghana every time the Ghana election. He doesn't have a voting power. You can imagine that.
Right. So with the election, okay, you land, and I'll come back to your how you see
our way of life. My biggest concern is that, except we allow the benefit of government to touch every part of the country, irrespective of where your population lies.
Because Nigeria is a very big country.
That is when the entire Africa. I can tell you certainly that yesterday,
right,
a Ghanaian was telling me about Nigeria's election. That Africa is looking at Nigeria's election, and you should have this relationship in Ghana. That whatever happens in Nigeria happens in Ghana the following. Even my postman, the postman serving my area, once told me about 4 years ago that the opposition is going to win in Ghana because the opposition is winning in Nigeria. And that's the election that I do to government. I was shocked when he told me. It's election means that we all look up to Nigerian election in Ghana. Once an opposition wins, we believe ourselves going to win in Ghana. I mean, this is a man who is a British Ghanaian for many years in this country. He doesn't come to vote, but he holds to that tradition. And behold, the opposition won that year too in Ghana. And he came back to tell me.
I tell you.
Didn't I tell you that opposition will win in Ghana?
This is prophecy. But
so this is the kind of belief until we also, because we don't have belief in our government that they can deliver.
All right.
That's another thing there.
If we don't have belief, I'm sorry. If you don't believe in your leader, whoever you choose or wish to come to power, what then would be the essence of the voting then? Because if I don't believe, why would I put my confidence in a man and know 100% he can't deliver?
I can't hear the question. The line is
what I wanted to know is, if we don't believe in the people we choose to lead us in such mandatory position, how come we vote in the first place?
Look, that's one big question you just asked now. If the answers to his first is a similar question, as the hypothetical question. Do our votes really count in that part of the world?
Now, before call.
And you and I know that. You and I know that do our votes really count much in that part of the world? Because I have the privilege of having elections across this reasonable part of that country. And I followed the election the last year, second term of Ofido. I got to point that at one point the election counting was suspended in certain part of the country, saying security something. And the opposition was shouting, which is exactly what happened in every part of the world. I've covered election in Nigeria where the voters, the total number of voters is twice the number of votes counted in that part of the place. Wow. The election of Osun State that has been nullified by an appeal court, electoral court that's going through appeal now, was also for the same reason. One of the judgment was that after deducting illegal votes, the opposition, so there was a particular party that won. The opposition did not win. So these are the things that matter. I know people vote, but what is the genuineness of that vote?
Wow.
Have we not compromised the police?
Oh yeah, of course. I would say that.
I don't want to go into those details. You just our listeners also not.
Avi, oh my God.
In this country, you all know who is going to win by the projection on the television straight away. That this election is going to be this. It's going to be whitewash. This is the polls, and in their continent, fraudulent poll, fraudulent election, rigging. As at this morning, I was just going through some Nigerian papers this morning. A lawmaker, a federal lawmaker, was arrested with over 500 pounds.
I saw the video. I saw the video in Nigeria, and then I'm like, what is happening to the whole state, especially with burning items and people throwing, guns and gunshots and all that a few days ago? And I thought, like, are we still experiencing these things, especially now that we seem to have been civilized and have gone to the ballot boxes in the first place?
Civilization has nothing to do with your belief system. No, they still believe that except my party wins, I cannot benefit from government. And that is where my worry is. It's got to evolve a system where wherever you are, you can access benefit of government without being a party to that government. That's what we are meant to do here. I'm not sure you belong to any political party in this country, and you are who you are.
That's right.
If you don't act tomorrow, they will come and collect. They will send a text to you. They will collect their overpayment. They will pay. My father-in-law, I just lost my father-in-law.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and I'm driving at something. We informed Her Majesty of his pensions that look, this man has died, and they quickly told us that look, we are going to recover. There's likelihood that some payments have been scheduled that will come to his account, and we are going to recover it.
Anyway,
the system.
Wow.
And they've written to the family to say, look, you need to pay this back. This is the amount of money already paid to the man, and which we are about to do now. We are not that is system of governance. That tells you that this must happen. I can tell you that in Africa, in Ghana or in Nigeria, can you call the tax system like that and say this man has done and things are going to happen just like that?
Like,
no.
Kujo. Wow.
So until when benefits, governance is separated from politicians, I can tell you that, I don't know how many people. Okay, let me give you one personal experience.
Go on, sir.
In my area, I have this affiliation for labor in my area. That my MP is a labor man who comes around and please, Idris, can you help distribute this thing? Which me and my family have availed by the opportunity to help to distribute materials. And the last election, when she won, he gladly invited me to come for a dinner, get together. It's also first on the day I was working. And I said, look, what am I going to do there? I'm going to drink a tea. I'm going to drink biscuits. Even if you are not careful, you are going to bring that biscuit to the place yourself. I chose my work.
Oh, yes.
But the question is, in Nigeria, will I have chosen to go to work or that I go to political rally?
Mbam, no way.
Yeah. We don't have to expatiate for that. You understand what it means?
Yes. Hi. Now, wow. That is well.
Because in this part of the world, even when my son was invited to come to the parliament as part of the schools, they asked us to even donate biscuits that the children would eat there.
Wow.
So, is it going to happen in Africa? No. That tells you the transparency of the person coming. I don't have the fund, but I have to provide the services for the children. Let them have interest in governance. And people gladly donated biscuits that the children ate when they got there. And on the paper he gave to you at the parliament, he told you where the donations came from. See, it's from these people. These are people who donated to us. We all clap for them. That is governance. That is transparency in government.
That's right.
And some few years ago, I read of a minister who was taking money for you to have access to the president to sit on the table in Ghana.
Ah.
So let us go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Until everybody assesses benefit of government. Okay, let me say, until everybody assesses governance. You don't need to know anybody there. To obtain my son's passport was delivered under 2 weeks in this house. Now, to get a Nigerian passport, it's taking me 3, 4, 5, 6 months now.
Don't go there. It's the same thing everywhere.
Don't go there.
Don't go there.
So these are issues. Now you You have to be making contact now. From here, I have to be calling contact to Nigeria to say, okay, if I arrive to so day, is it possible for me to say, okay, let me call somebody to come and assist us. That is the country where I was born.
Right.
To obtain the passport for myself, I have to call somebody to come and help me do something. I have to know somebody.
It's a shame, man.
But here in this country, I will send a text message that your passport is about to expire. Apply now. That's the borrowed passport.
Why must it be like that?
Because we have not separated governance from politicians.
That's a shame, man. That's a shame.
It's a shame. So because of that, people become over-interested. The essence of that over-interest is because they feel that that's how they can derive benefit of government. My brother was the former chairman of a local government in Nigeria, and I was his PA for a while before I went back to journalism. And I had that one-on-one contact with the kind of interest people build in politicians. Every morning in his office, people would queue to come and tell him personal problem. I have a baby now. I'm looking for naming ceremony money. And my brother will have to do a lot of cash on daily basis. And I asked, why are you doing this? He said, if you don't do this, your party will lose the next election.
Chai. This is serious.
I was the PE. I was the PE. That's why I said, apart from reporting Nigerian politics for over 2 decades, I was also informed. My brother gave me the opportunity to be part of that politics at that level, at the local level. And that's where it matters most. People look at politicians in national. No. The power in African election comes from a local level. Because that is where poverty lies. That is why the local government, the CD, community chairman, who has to give you the number of people who benefit. Everything that comes from the local government comes to CDC, Community Development Association. Where in name has already been compiled. And that's how it has ruled through these unelected offices.
Wow.
It's a personal, that's why I said it's a personal experience for me. I've been a journalist supported election for many years. Sometimes before election finishes, people are already announcing results somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is funny. I don't want to take much of your time.
For this age of internet, so many fraudulent election results are fraudulent on the internet. Causing confusion.
Only God help us, man.
So unfortunately, sadly enough, I've not seen any pattern in any part of the world, Africa, where things are changing or where people want to change things. And my worry is that the majority of us who live outside the country, who have gone back to take part and home in the election, rather than influence the people, we get entrenched in that same thing. That's where my worry is.
Okay. All right, folks.
If you have gone outside the country to learn something, you don't have the ability to introduce your new system to your continent in Africa. No. They get there, they become worse than people they met them.
I pray that the election goes smoothly and then we wouldn't experience.
And Nigeria, Africans will also learn from Nigeria.
Yes, you are senior brothers now. You're a giant of Africa with your population and everything. Just one state makes Ghana its population. And so oh yes, thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate your coming to with the analysis of what's going on in Nigeria and then the entire Africa. Hopefully we'll call you again if we need your help, sir. Do have a good weekend. All right, thank you, sir. Bye. Right, so I was talking to Idris, a Nigerian journalist who help us break down what is happening in Nigeria. It's sad. I've seen the videos, and if you look at the items, the whole Nigeria state is actually thrown in pandemonium, regardless whether Lagos or the small towns and everything. Right, you're still on Hits Africa Radio. My name is Dr. Morton. If you just joined us, we're here all the way till 1 o'clock. We've got solid 2 hours to go. As I said, I just spoke to my colleague who's also a journalist, a Nigerian. Now I've got Chairman Yosin, I've got Joe, who are all lined up on the show because we've got a lot to talk about this morning. Now, some of the issues, especially in what I have outlined as the UN chief who condemns the anniversary, not just the anniversary, but the whole Ukraine war that they responded to Russia. And this morning I was watching Zelensky, who was was sort of expressing gratitude with his men who fought back the Russians with respect to what just went on over a year ago, a few months ago. Now, Comrade Dufour, as far as I'm concerned, I did not see his interest in taking the presidential candidates to become a president one day, because he's asked on few occasions. He did not give his interest. We couldn't tell how ready he was. And then the current VP, the Biomia, and then Alain Sherman thing at the other side of the NPP are those who seems to be apparently the obvious choice, but you never know. Elections. I was looking at Kospu Gabra earlier if he was also going to be interested, but still, it looks as if Mahama is the majority of the choice of the NDC. I'm going to speak to Joe or Mr. Chairman Yosi. I'm going to start off with Chairman who had joined us earlier, and then we'll look at his view. Chairman Yosi is still of the confidence that very soon, with a few party that his PPP party, who he seems to have much confidence in, and then merging with CPP and some parties, we'll look at where the status quo of these parties. Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, Dr. Morton, and how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm just not happy with what's happening in Nigeria, and then I spoke earlier to Mr. Idris, who updated me about the fact that politicians take advantage by bribing us with either T-shirts or a tin of Milo, and it's still there, just that it's taking a different version. Anyway, you're welcome to the show this morning, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I mean, I have been following. I'll say good morning to all our brothers and sisters who are listening, whether Nigeria or Ghanaians or Africans. We all got the same problems. I've been following Nigeria campaigns and all the time. I'm surprised something happened without my knowledge. Could you tell me what exactly happened recently? The riots thing?
What with the Nigeria election?
Yes. You said something happened recently. I mean, is it yesterday or today?
He was telling us about, what led to the chaos and people, the routes that is going on at the moment in Nigeria. And then we're looking at the entire security, as the party candidate signs a peace. We hope
I understand. Yeah.
And but his concern, as I got him into the conversation, is the fact that all these politicians, there's one thing they have realized: they could always induce their followers to help them win the election, even if there's no fair means. And so I was trying to find out how long are we going to, be influenced by, bribery, if not in cash, or any items that would push people, instead of forgetting or instead of realizing that what matters most is actually the future.
Well, thank you. I watched Nigerian programs on different Nigerian TV stations here in the UK. I was very frightened. I felt very frightened when I saw the number of people jumping on the streets, on top of cars, moving vehicles and all that. That frightened me. That shows that we are still Africans, maybe pre-colonial times, where there's no rule, no organization, no arrangement, no matter how big an NPP is or ADC is, know that the same problems in Ghana, we've got the same problems in Nigeria. That frightened me. They've got millions of people all jumping to one side, but the way they were going will frighten you. We are disorganized people as Africans. Watch Premiership football match here in the United Kingdom. What do you see? Everybody must remain seated. If you get up, they will throw you out. We are disorganized as African people. And that shows in every situation of our life. And it's very dangerous. It's about time that we organize our own self-discipline. But we are not disciplined in Africa. It's the same thing in Nigeria, the same thing in Ghana. People jump, even some people were holding some sticks and jumping where there was no wall. In case you hit somebody by accident, you kill that person. People, so I'm not surprised that I foresaw that there would be a problem. So 1 or 2 people may be dead even by the time we are talking. And that's no good because just for the sake of casting your vote, we don't have to go that way. We are behaving like animals in the bush, like monkeys in the bush, monkeys holding truncheons and fighting. Why? There should be discipline, calmness. That's what we take into governance.
Yeah.
So when people are elected into government, they can think anything outside even the manifesto. It should not be by the grace of God. We must be sensible and wise. Go to Nigeria, there are a lot of Christians there. There are a lot of Muslims there. Go to Ghana, the same thing. We are Christians or Muslims or even Juju people. It's all religious people. But we do not allow our religions to direct us in our behavior. So I pray that nothing badly happens in Nigeria. For the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people will be killed if governments cannot bring order to society. That's what I fear.
Only hope not.
I fear.
Now, Chairman, let's come back to the issue of Mr. Kwabena before.
Yes.
Picking up nominations and people seems to be interested.
Yes. Thank you. I shall say I will lift up my heart to Mr. Dufour, Kwabena Dufour. 1, he's a gentleman. 2, I see him as a prospective presidential candidate. 3, I believe that he is an astute gentleman who can perform if he's got the opportunity. I watched him, I think about just over a year ago. The way the guy was speaking and talking, you could see that this is a presidential material. He did not have to make an announcement at that time that he would stand. But I said to my colleagues, this guy will go for the presidential slot. So I'm not surprised he has, and I wish him good luck. We need people like that to take up that position. He's somebody who can easily beat Mahama and take on the mantle. Why not?
You reckon?
Mahama has done it before. Atamis died. Mahama continued 2012, and Atamis won election. He comes. It's kind of, let's say, literally 8 years. Enough. What did he do? How much did he do?
Oh, Mahama.
Where does Mr. Mahama come from? Where does he come from? His village, where is it? Bole Bamboy. What has he done there? You see, if you look at your own condition,
that doesn't matter your location.
Yes, it does. I'm London.
All right.
I'm London. You look at where you come from, and that tells you, informs you what to do. If you come from a very deprived area and you have the opportunity to be in position, please, not only, I'm not talking only about your own village. There are so many villages in Ghana in the same deprived conditions. So that must inform you that you must look after the interests of the people of the deprived areas. What did he do? He only come to live in Accra, have a property in Accra. That's all. He didn't have. I'm not necessarily saying go and fight for the benefits of Buleba Boy only. Go to Takwa Banso in Takwa Western region. Go to so many Kojo Krom and all that. Secondly, Takwa the Kukumasi, go to Ashanti region. Even don't mention Ashanti region. There are some serious villages in Ashanti region where even there's no routes to drive your car into. There's so many deprived areas. In Bronga Hafu region, in Volta region, in Eastern region, Kufodua and all that. Because so many such people. And you come from such a place, what did you do? You only come to live in Accra in the posh surroundings and under air conditions. Enjoy yourself. But we come for 8 years and you want another 4 more years. Do you think even God will grant that? I don't think so. That's why I believe that Mr. Kwabena Dufour has got a chance over Mr. ex-President Mahama. I'm a serious thinker, and I believe that will happen. I believe we want somebody who will come and do something, and not somebody who jump from your village and go and live in Accra city, enjoy yourself, and the election comes, you pick up a ballot paper, God knows what, and you go in again. The people are so stupid to vote for you again. What did you do for them in the first place? This is the biggest question I'm asking, sir.
Yeah, but Chairman, over the years, like Bill Kibi or Chebi, and people would say he's rather developed his village or his town instead of making the other places look deprived. But your views about Kwabena Dufour, I don't. You think everybody shares your views?
No, I don't want people to share my views. I'm educating people that please look at that man. Look at his corner. Look at his corner. I'm coming. Let's give him a chance. He's equally a human being. Nobody is more human than anybody else. Let's give another man a chance. That's what I'm trying to say. Because a guy, Mr. Mahama, who had 2 chances and all that, and what he could not deliver for the poor person. That is what I'm talking about. He did not deliver for the poor person. Unfortunately, he comes from such a background as well. He couldn't be bothered. You understand? Yes. He was happy in the city of Accra. That's what I'm saying. So let's give another fresh man a chance and see what he can do. But for Mahama, God gave him the chance 8 years. What he did he deliver? It's not very impressive.
Okay, that's fine. Let me come to Joe and then look at what he also makes up for all the topics outlined last night. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Doc.
How are you, my friend?
Oh, by God's grace, we are managing.
Good. You're live on it, sir.
Yeah, good morning to Mr. Kitty Olsen as well.
Well, good morning, Joe.
I want to also use this opportunity to say good morning to all your listeners, your producers, and everybody. It's quite unfortunate we are going to start on this tangent, but I totally disagree with Mr. Kitty Olsen.
Okay,
if you look at Ghana now, if you take out the northern part of Ghana, the next most deprived area is the central region. Papa Kwesindum comes from central region. He was a minister. What did he do in central region? Then you come to western region. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that we praise so much, came from western region. What did he do in western region? But in any case, does that matter? You were voted for as a Ghanaian, as the leader of government of Ghana. And so your priority is to develop Ghana. Now, how can you tell me that you leave the capital town, that when dignitaries, when there is a UN meeting, when there is West Africa meeting, you leave that area to go and develop Bole Bamboy? How is that even relevant? You understand? And look,
excuse me, Dr. Morton, if I may come in 1 minute, excuse me, with respect. The analogy, the explanation I was giving, Joe did not understand it. What I'm saying is that if you come from, a rotten place like Bule Bamboy or Takwa Pristia or whatnot, that must inform you that overall in Ghana, you must attend to the interests of the people with similar backgrounds. I only use Bole Bamboy because that's where the gentleman comes from. I don't say if you go to...
What were you expecting him to do in Bole Bamboy?
No, hang on. He must think about the poor people, deprived areas in the whole Ghana.
In Bole Bamboy, the most beautiful hospital has been built by John Mohammed's wife in Bole Bamboy.
No. It's not about me disagreeing with Kitty Olsen. Learn from what I'm saying and expand on it. It's not about me.
At the end of the day, it is not Bole Bamboy people who voted for Mahama to be president.
But that's why you don't understand when I speak. What I'm saying,
Mr. Kitty Olsen, I do not have to.
You don't understand. So I'm not comfortable even having a chat with you. Necessary.
No.
It's not me.
You remember when you started off, I asked you if the location matters, and then you said, well, of course. Now, Joe, from what he's saying, as far as I understand, is saying that, well, so Bole Bamboy, who believe in Mahama, are not just all the Ghanaians we have. There are other
Exactly.
Ghanaians from any other places who also, deserves the benefits of Mahama's ruling. And so if he can develop any other place, it also matters. It shouldn't be just Bolibam. And then Chairman, what he said, according to Chairman, he used that place as an example, as somebody who would be able to deliver based on where he's actually coming from. Well, I don't think it's always the case. I think it's the entirety or the holistically as to your general performance to the entire Ghana. Anyway, that was just
Doc. In any case, Mr. Kobnadufo, I wish him well as well. I mean, he's entered into a democratic space, and it's allowed for everyone for us to preserve the sanctity of plurality in our system. We need to allow people the chance to also express their opinion and express their desire, and also to exercise their right. It is his right to contest as an NDC presidential candidate. So for us, he falls within the remit of the law and all that. And so it is his right. We need to commend him. But I don't think Koblen before comes from Ashanti. There are villages, there are poor people in Ashanti. I don't think he has made all of them rich before deciding to contest to become the flag bearer of the NDC. And so we don't need to, if we do that, we limit the argument. And so then it becomes good that Akufo-Addo is stealing all Ghana's money into Chebi. It becomes unquestionable. We cannot question him because, he's from Chebi, he needs to make Chebi work. If I become president, I would take the capital of Ghana into Pristia and make Pristia the capital, no matter what, because I am from there. If we go by that narrative, unfortunately, we're going to go the wrong way. We should know that we have a national government, and that national government is voted for by the national people, the people of Ghana, voted for him or her. And for that matter, responsibility lies on that government to develop Ghana, and not to say that I come from Wasamensi and so I have to develop Wasamensi. And that notwithstanding, look, Doc, we can only wish Nigeria well. Nigerians are our brothers and sisters, they are family, we wish them well. But Doc, one of the things I find very difficult to understand is when there are elections in Africa, and then we need to go and bring in this EU, whatever, thinking they are better than us. But when they are doing their election, they don't bring in West African observers. But then we'll go and bring in all these people. And even that, when they come, their integrity is even questioned. Because look, you look at the 2020 elections, all the EU observers, the white man we brought to come and observe our elections, what was the report? We all saw what happened, but what report did they go? Then whether they are intimidated by the government or whether they've been fed by the government, they go and they say, the election was free and fair, blah, 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 blah. Right. You understand? And for me, as an African, I feel very bad when these issues are happening. I feel very, very bad. In as much as, yes, we have our problems. Yes, there are discrepancies going on. Nigeria is on fire. There are things going on that are wrong. But I think, just as Kwame Nkrumah said, we have every right to protect our own thing. We have every right to defend our own thing. It doesn't have to take a white man to come to Africa to tell us our elections are free or not free. I think that aspect, we need to look at it. And the African Union needs to take that on board.
Especially when Kwame Nkrumah has made us understand we can take up our own affairs.
Yeah, because look, these people you are going to bring, Boris Johnson today is even calling that the UK army be sent to Ukraine. Why is he not calling that you send a UK army to go and protect Nigeria? Why is he not calling for that? Why is he not calling for UK army to go and protect people of Sudan and Eritrea? These people, but it's quite unfortunate. But coming back to the NDC issue, I mean, this is my displeasure about how we do our politics in Ghana and how we think foreign observers have to come in for our elections to be legitimate. You see, if it's about democracy, we need to define whose democracy is it. How do we define whose democracy and what is right for Ghana or what is not right for Ghana? Sometimes we need to delve into that debate. But look, if I am an NDC member today, I should be proud, just as Mr. Kitiosin is saying, that today, the most intelligent, the most faithful, and the most competent people, two most competent, intelligent, and intellectual people are contesting to be flag bearers of the NDC. So if you're an NDC member, you should be very proud. Mr. Kitiosin has said it. Now look, Kobna Dufo is a refined man. Only that I am finding it hard to understand why at 80 he doesn't have a gray hair on his head. But apart from that, he's a refined man. He's very intelligent, you know. And so if you're an NDC member, you should be
it's
very
just a
proud.
matter of interest. Let me add something to what Joe is saying with all due respect. At 80, there's no gray hair in his head. Thank God. You are in the United Kingdom or we are in Ghana. Our sisters, our mothers, have you seen an African woman with gray hair today? Everybody's wearing Brazilian hair. There's no gray hair in there. So continue. All African women, they are all black hair.
If the women are wearing Brazilian hair, maybe Kobna Dufo is wearing the Argentinian hair. So we can
maybe we can also wear English hair.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think we'd rather have to look at, and this is where probably me and Mr. Kitty Yosin will be at loggerheads, because look, in as much as we can say a lot of things about Mahama today, Mr. Mahama has been vindicated massively. Today, the only obvious choice for Ghana is Mr. Mahama. And so for me, if I were in the camp of Mr. Kobna Dufo, I would rather donate that money to the party so that probably he would gain his Minister of Finance back when NDC assumes office or something like that. But to contest that position, I don't know who advised him, but for me, in as much as he is exercising his right, which he has the right to, exercise, I think it's a wrong move. And I think he's done that move at the wrong time. If he had done that 10 years ago, I would have thought that, look.
What I was saying. This is what I was saying. I had expected the man to, display some sort of interest in it, but he's actually been. Anyway, I don't want to cut you. Go.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that you see, what makes John Mahama, His Excellency former President John Mahama, so unique and so competent for this job in 2025 is that the man has been there before. The man has learned lessons. So when he enters the Flagstaff house, he doesn't need to ask where is the toilet or where is the whatever. He knows where he's going. He has held the office before. He knows. Now, you've seen some of his engagement with the CSOs. At first, he wouldn't do that. Today, he is engaging the CSOs. He's getting to know that what did I do wrong? Today, I've heard an interview where he said, look, giving tractors to farmers was one of the wrong decisions he made. The man has learned a lot of lessons. You understand? So it is looking at, even at this time, I have said that, look, doctor, there is an armed robber in your house, raping your daughter, raping your wife. You have no time to be calling for ambulance or calling for police. All you can do is to master that courage and act. And act. This is not the time for us to be experimenting. We have someone who has been in the boat before. He knows how the sea is. He knows where, when you get to, the sea becomes a bit shaky and all that. We know someone who can steady the storm. So it is not for us to be experimenting. This is lives of over 30-something million people we are talking about here. It is not a time for experimentation. We did experimentation with Akufo-Addo. Look at where it has landed all of us. And so for me, I feel that, look, Mr. Mahama has 4-year term. If he wins 2024, he has 4-year term. It is so short a time that we need to, by that 4 years, before the elapse of that 4 years, we need to put the country on a certain pedestal that whoever comes again after 2028 can move the agenda forward of Ghana's proper restoration, of proper economic decisions taking, proper infrastructural development, proper educational system, and all that. Today, all those people who were talking about free education and all that. Today, we all know. Today, my uncle's daughter went to school on January 15th or so. On February 10th, they say he should come back home.
Oh dear.
The school that is being run on a two-thought basis. Now today, we see the education system is messed up. And so we need someone who is already coming with a vision, someone who already has the idea. And I think Mr. Mahama is the best.
No. See, nobody is stopping you. You see, the way Joe is talking, it seems he's an almighty person that whatever he says, people must think. People will laugh at you from what you are saying. You relax yourself.
I think that's his
Go, listen. See, Mr. Dr. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Dr. Morton, please look at what is in my hand. Dr. Morton, if you can see what is in my hand, you can tell what it is. I am somebody who goes to Ghana on the ground to monitor elections. I'm not sure if Joe has ever done that before. This is Electoral Commission of Ghana. When I went, accredited polling agent. When I went there, I saw the foreign companies coming to monitor our elections. And I'm talking seriously. Joe, I don't think he's been there before. I was working together with the United Nations delegates. So you don't condemn them. They come because, excuse me, we are not that civilized to organize a peaceful election. So they come and make sure. Of course, they won't bring Ghanaians to come and monitor elections in the United Kingdom as an example, because the way they conduct it is so civilized, no problem. But in Ghana, it's different. When we go to vote,
let me land. The idea of the black man being capable of managing his own affairs.
No. Joe, please, if you let me land, you will understand.
Yeah, I'll let you land.
I monitor this. I want to Pristia, you're talking. I want to Takwa, Pristia, Isayim, and all that. I want to see. There's so many people around the polling station. When even you cast your ballot, you say go. They don't go. They still stay. Here in the UK, when you cast your vote, you go. But in Ghana, we have to converge. Even Ghana's situation is better. But look at Nigeria's situation. There are 250 million people. Ghana, we are only 30. If we got a problem in Ghana, then it must inform you that Nigeria is a hell of a lot. We took independence from these people. They know how we behave. They know us more than ourselves. The English government knows Ghanaians more than my grandparents. I understand. They know us. Do you understand? So if we are organized, they wouldn't come to monitor our elections. Ghanaians don't come to UK to monitor elections. So you may continue. I'm not being funny, but I just want to explain to you. This is my certificate. I want to be an observer,
right?
Together with the United Nations people, and I'm proud to show you. Okay, so please continue. Please continue.
I understand where, and thanks for the intervention. All I have sought to suggest, or all I've sought to say, is to kind of deepen that statement by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah that we are capable of managing our own affairs. Look, yes, of course, like even God who created heaven and earth, sometimes God, when we say if you have a child, it is God who has given you the child. But some people give birth to children who are blind, children who cannot walk. So in every situation, there's going to be one bad issue. So yeah, we understand we have our challenges. But what I am trying to suggest is that in as much as we have our challenges, we should find ways of dealing with it as Africans, as people, a sovereign state, and not always rely on some statement from other people. We think they are so superior. We think they are more human than us. But I mean, that's my opinion. Mr. Kitiosan has his opinion. I respect it. And like they say, they are like noses. Opinions are like noses. Each has one. But for me, as someone who believes in Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and he has died for how long now? And if we are still thinking it has to take a UN mission or a British mission to come to Ghana before we can have a proper election, then it is up to us. It is up to even those of us who believe in the ideas of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to support this statement that I'm making or to reject it. And you can tickle yourself and pretend not to laugh or laugh. It's your own problem at the end of the day, because we seem to today, Ukraine and Russia, you were talking about it. Why is Ukraine so adamant? Because it sees that it is a sovereign state and Russia has no right to invade it today. And that is the bone of contention now. Why can't we, Ghana, Nigeria, declare that we are a sovereign state? And for that matter, and that is why if the British or the American, if they have a choice that, oh, we want Dr. Morton to be president, and for that matter, whatever Mr. Kitiosin is doing, we will say he's undemocratic and find any way to bring in Dr. Morton, because we ourselves, we don't even believe in ourselves. We only have to listen to what the Americans say or whatever. But it's up to them. I wish Nigeria well. I wish they will have a free and fair election. I pray that the right candidate wins. It is up to us to develop ourselves. It is up to us to make sure that when we go to the polls to elect people to come and lead us, they are coming to serve the people. They are coming with integrity. They are coming with competence and realizing that the solutions are in their hands and they are going to provide the solutions to the people of Nigeria. And that is what I wish for. And I can also say that Nigeria will come out successful. Nigeria will come out successful. No matter, there are going to be few skirmishes, but we need to be hopeful and pray that Nigeria comes out successful.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. I think you've been quite lengthy on your submission, and I appreciate that. Now, it says, since the departure of Nkrumah, this is a question as to whether the absence of Nkrumah is helping us or not, in spite of those we've had to be, to succeed at his absence. Now, since the departure of Nkrumah, other presidents have made their contributions to the growth and development of Ghana. I strongly believe that Nana Ado's free senior secondary school education is a worthy cause. It has offered all children the opportunity to attend school. Now, the government's one district, one factory is also an enduring legacy for the country. These are precedent decisions that have been boldly taken by Nana Ado's government. And it goes on to say the NPP flag bearer, the NPP flagship program of One District, One Factory, which has been more than 100 factories in operations, is the only bold attempt by the government in Ghana to set the country back to the path of industrialization after our former President Rawlings, the founding father of the NDC, sold more than 300 state-owned enterprises through divestiture. Right, this is coming for Sir Gabo. I know that Sir Gabo is a come out, bold, confident NPP whose views would, tickle a lot of conversation. But it's about 11:45. We're here on Hits Africa Radio. I'm going to read a few messages which people have made based on the submissions of both Mr. Ketioson and Joe. Now, Mr. Kedioson, view of Koblan Defoe shared and also seconded by John Ho from Clapham. John is saying, well, Mr. Defoe, sure, at least would make a change in the history of our political leaders. Well, he's a fine gentleman. He agrees with Chairman. And this one is coming from Kelvin. Kelvin is from Streatham. Kelvin is saying, well, Joe has made a very good point. I think Mahama has an experience and would still be the best candidate. Well, gentlemen, this is what I've had from what you've said. Chairman, I'm back to you.
Yes, sir.
With a view of your always desire to come in with the, merging with the parties to stand these, assumably, the giant parties, that's the NDC and the MPP. How is the confidence still wavering, or are you still sure something will come out of these ideas?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, I mean we are all different political parties: People's National Convention, People's Party, and the Progressive People's Party. We are coming into coalition. And I ask you, whether from experience or from what we've learned, it is not an overnight affair. When we talk of coalition, it's a legal matter. We put things on the table, agree to them, tick the boxes, agree to them, then the coalition will be achieved. just as we've just recently observed in Israel. We do observe such in Germany and in Italy. For Italy, there are more coalitions than ever. You know, it's good for all the parties in the coalition, or if you like a merger, to agree the terms and conditions. These are the issues that we are working towards. And very soon, the pact will be signed or an agreement will be made for us to announce to Ghanaians that we, these political parties, have come into coalition to contest for the 2024 general elections. So I would say we are very progressive in our the ideas that we are churning out, you know. So within a few months' time, you would be notified. Ghanaians will be notified that we are now in coalition. That is, when we are standing for elections, all of us will not stand in Pristia or Takwa or Takrady or Cape Coast. One, the coalition will stand, not PNC or CPP or NPP, the PPP. So these are the things that we are working around, and I believe people, brothers and sisters, understand what I'm trying to say. We come with one unified voice. Therefore, only one from the coalition will stand in a particular place as opposed to three. So it's a very sketchy affair, but we are going through that. It's going successfully. We are in February. Maybe by the end of March this year, we will come together. But sadly, the two old political parties that have destroyed Ghana, that is 11 governments after Kwame Nkrumah. There are 11 governments after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's CPP have come into place, and Ghana is nowhere. We are rather backward, Dr. Morton. We are rather backward, Dr. Morton. We when Nkrumah left, we had Ghana Airways. When Nkrumah left, we had Black Star Line shipping agency. When Nkrumah left, we had Ghana Railways. That if you want to go to Kumasi from Accra or Takoradi, you jump on a train and go. Today, there's not even one single train there running. Whenever I've gone to Ghana, I've got to go to Kumasi, I've got to go by plane. I never ever used to go by plane. This time, the safest place is go by plane, because if you go on the road, you are not sure you come out alive. So many cars on the road, so many accidents on the road. These are critical issues. So we want to come and make the difference. Nkrumah, oh God, Nkrumah was today. It's 57 years since Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown. Today, watch out! An article is coming out before the weekend. Today. 24th February 2023, 57 years when Kwame Nkrumah was removed. What have we done? Everything Kwame Nkrumah has put in place, we have destroyed them. We cleaned the railway station, we cleaned Ghana Airways. Ghana Airways plane would have taken you and me from London to Accra, maybe not less than 1,000 pounds, about 500 pounds. Yeah, because it's British Airways, because Ghana hasn't got any airlines. They tell you, give you any price, you can go. Christmas, they give you any price, you have to pay. When we had our own, we killed it. So we killed it off, whether NDC or PNDC, NPP, they are the same. These three parties, together with a few military governments, they finished all the Ghana Airways, finished the Black Star Line. And we're talking of gross domestic product when most of us don't understand the working of economics. If we had a Black Star Line shipping, if we had a Ghana Airways going, you can imagine the amount of money that will accrue to Ghanaians in Ghana. All these monies we are paying, we pay to foreign companies. We have no longer a ship. So if we want to send goods, even cocoa, bring cocoa to God knows Europe, we have to rent a ship from the outside Europe. Why not? We used to have Ghana Black Star Line. They would take the cocoa out, and money will come in. And from Europe to Africa to Ghana Black Star Line would take goods to all these parts of Africa. Money for Ghana, economic development for Ghana. We've killed them. Ghana Airways, the same thing. We have lost a lot of money. Firestone rubber factory, we killed it. Abosu glass factory, we've killed it. Even Kede matches factory, we've killed it. If all these manufacturing bases we kill it, we are now a consumption economy.
Right.
We are importing and eating, in Ghana. We think we are fine, and the MPP is talking of breaking the 8. We have to break their necks individually. Breaking what 8? MPP removed Kwame Nkrumah 57 years ago. They are talking of breaking what 8? Nkrumah broke only 9. Nkrumah was there for only 9 years. Look at what he did. Both NDC and MPP, how many years? Over 50 years, the ruling Ghana, they have not succeeded. Dr. Morton, this is very serious. So we wait until some article comes out at this weekend because it's not good. It's not good for us at all. So these people, and NPP is come to tell us they are going to do miracles. We only have to watch and pray and laugh and cry. Today, there should have been a memorial service for overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. They are quiet because they are ashamed. They are quiet before we are ashamed. Next 3 weeks, it's Ghana independence. MPP too will come and stand there, Ghana independence. Excuse me, to hell must be with them. Because when we were going for independence, MPP said no, they disagreed with the independence. They did not come to Polo grounds in Accra when Nkrumah was declaring independence because they were against Nkrumah. When Americans even came to Ghana, Black Americans, Afro-Americans came to Ghana to celebrate our independence. NPP in Accra, Buzia, Dankwa, Obechebilamte, whatever, Dombo, they never attended because they disagreed with our independence. Now they got the capacity and views to observe Ghana's independence. We will watch them. Any NPP person who will try and be part of the independence, God will look down on shame to them because they never wanted independence for Ghana.
You reckon? Anyway,
I mean, they said no. They came to London from Accra, delegation from NPP at that time UP, to come and tell the Queen that we don't need the independence. We are not ready for it. But today they are ready to celebrate. We will see what they will do next 2 weeks.
All right. Now, Achu Trasam, the gentleman we lost due to the earthquake over last month or a few weeks ago, has become another talk of the town the whole of this time around. Sad, may his soul rest in peace. We wish the family, we stand very strong with them in this difficult time. Nanado has decided to give them a befitting burial. And a few lineups like Nanam Pedu and all that. I mean, this is a young guy. Unfortunately, his life is cut short in the early stages of 30. We wish his family, all the best. That as but the updates we get is that the children couldn't come in because of one or two reasons. At least from where we come from, I know the family, that's the wife and children, should have been part of this occasion. I bet it's because of the barrier reasons, and then whether the white man believes that they have to, be engaged in the funeral activities. God knows why, but. Any of you thought what does any of you make of it? It's very sad, isn't it? Joe, you haven't spoken last as Chairman has done. Anything you want to talk about Achu's burial or any? Well, the president has acknowledged of giving him a befitting state burial, but a few of our leaders didn't get that. Do you think it's fair?
Oh, Doc, thank you.
Both movies and entertainment industries, music and all that. I remember when died, Papa Kojo Johnson, Ambule, as I interviewed him, spoke very bitterly about the fact that the man didn't have any attention from the government. I mean, it was seen as, although Mahama, God bless him, he wanted to pay the man a visit during his absential funeral. What do you make of such deals? You think is fair?
Yeah, Doc, thank you very much. You see, as a nation, we need to strategize on a lot of things because this issue of state barrier, blah, blah, blah. Just yesterday, I saw someone trying to make politics out of Silas Tete, that he coached Ghana to win to under-20 World Cup and he's sick or something, he needs money. The question is, when he was working, was he not paid? Well, you see, we need to be serious as a country that everything, give him state barrier, the state need to look after him. I mean, what kind of hazard way of doing things is that? Yes, the question I want to ask is that, we are going to give Achu a state barrier, blah, blah, blah. The question is, on what basis does he merit a state barrier? That is the first question
It's
we need
just
to
like
ask ourselves.
it's just like a concern of a slice serving the country as well. So that's where I see the unbiased.
Yeah, because look, if we end up, then if my father dies, I'm going to ask for a state burial because my father worked in the mining industry producing gold for Ghana for 32 good years. For him, it doesn't matter. Is that the argument? Or because we're giving him a state burial because of the way he died? Then what about those who die in an accident? We need to draw a curtain on some of these things. I am not against a choose a state barrier or whatever, but as a country, we need to develop modalities upon which some of these things can be argued on. Because it is not just because, oh, Dr. Morton was sitting on Joy FM and today something has happened to him, and so this, or this person played for Ghana Black Stars, and so today we need to bury him at the Flagstaff House. I mean, what kind of a country is that? So it looks like our sense of direction is determined by the situations that happen. It looks like we don't have any direction to go. So if anything happens, oh, let us do this. If anything happens, let us do this. We don't govern a country like that. For me, what has Achu achieved? Yes, he has died a very painful death. We all sympathize and empathize with the family. But what has he done to the country, Ghana? Tomorrow, Shatawale is going to die, and we're going to say, let us bury him at Kwame Nkrumah, whatever. Let us go and dig Kwame Nkrumah's body and bury him there because he sang a song. For who? For who? What has he done for Ghana? We need to have clear direction as to who fit to be buried as whatever, or who fit to be given that state barrier. We should not be doing things in any way. And then also, with all due respect, everyone has preference. I do not have problem with people who make choices, and their choice is their choice. They have a reason for making a choice. But for me, as a Ghanaian, I was so ashamed of myself. Because look, if a woman in any Ghanaian culture, they cannot send the body of the husband without the wife and the kids. How can you tell me they sent Achu's body and the wife is sitting at the football stadium cheering for applause? What kind of life is that? What kind of life is the girl telling me that if her mother was a comedian and her mother died, she will go and sit in a comedy theater to go and listen to comedy?
No way.
I mean, what kind of life is that? And then you go and sit in Newcastle Stadium, and the day that you were told that your husband has been found dead, you would take the next available flight and follow your husband's corpse. But you go and sit at Newcastle. Unfortunately, in as much as I feel pain for the kids and all that, look, this is a no. And we need to say it to the girl. When she was getting engaged with Christine Achu, she should have known that Achu has a culture. She should have known that Achu is a black man and a Ghanaian, and for that matter, we don't play with the institution of marriage. I don't know if they were fully married or not. I don't know. But if they were, she should know. And that you do not sit in Newcastle Stadium when your husband has died in this manner. You do not go and sit at Newcastle Stadium and pretending to be crying and all that kind of thing. It don't work like that. We need to say it to the girl. Unfortunately, it is wrong. She has downplayed our culture and she has disrespected the husband because she should be following the corpse to Ghana. If not for anything, she should be the first person to be following the corpse to Ghana.
All right, Joe.
What kind of life is that?
I'm going to bear with
Anyway,
I'm going to be with you to help me. No, I'm not saying you should learn. What it is I've got Felix, a regular listener of the show, who also want to share a view over all the topics we'll be discussing. So that because he cannot hear you, I want him to come in and then I will get back to you, sir. Right. Good morning, Felix.
No problem.
Good morning. Good morning to Chairman Olsen and to Joe. I just want to just clarify. I don't know whether Joe is aware of this regarding not all of his comments in relation to Achu, but particularly in relation to Achu's wife and her presence at Newcastle football grounds over the weekend. Perhaps he's not aware of this, but Achu is actually still a player of Newcastle. I think it had to do with the fact that the new coach sees him as surplus to requirements, and so they sort of loaned dry in the process of, well, not in the process, they have actually loaned him to that club in Turkey. As you know, most of these Premiership football teams do. Sometimes when they have surplus to requirement personnel. So that's the reason why the guy found himself in Turkey. But officially, he's still a player of Newcastle. And unfortunately, in the period of Achu, he's been loaned out by different clubs. He's been signed on by different clubs, loaned out to many more other teams. And I guess the reason why they invited her is because literally he's still one of their players because he's still on their books. And of course, they observed a minute of silence, as you probably know, at Newcastle football grounds. So that's the reason why she was invited. And frankly, Achu has not actually moved out of the family has not actually moved out of Newcastle. They still live in the Newcastle area. He's the one who is sort of trying to ply his trade on loan in Turkey, I guess, at the beginning of this 2022-2023 football season. And so that's the reason why she happened to be at the Newcastle football grounds. And that is something that is most clubs will do, particularly when a significant member of the club passes away. The families are invited to the football grounds, and maybe the son, maybe the wife, or maybe the wife or the parents, that sort of thing. And sometimes not even current footballers, but footballers who are sometimes long past left the club, retired, that sort of thing. You see that at most football grounds when maybe an ex-Arsenal footballer passes away or ex-Tottenham football player passes away, or sometimes even a member of the coaching team passes away who's been well known to the club. I think recently there was the assistant manager at Tottenham Hotspurs working with Conte, who passed away, and there was a minute of
silence,
respect, silence or clap or whatever they call it nowadays. I was shown. So that's the reason why the lady was at Newcastle football grounds. Now she may choose to come to Ghana, she may choose not to come to Ghana, but look, these things are very difficult to decide what is right. When somebody passes away, it's difficult to decide what the actions or inactions of family members should be. So I don't know how she's going to mourn about this. It's hard. 3 children. The last child is not even 2 years old, I'm told.
Sad. Oh dear.
She would have to. It is a difficult situation. And if you look at the circumstances upon which he passed away, it is very difficult. It's very hard. At one point in time, we have been told he's been found, he's injured, but he's in hospital. At another point in time, they don't know where he is. They can't hear from him. Things like that. As to whether he should be given a state funeral or not, look, as a country, we haven't decided on the modalities for this. But when these things happen, particularly when players who are still, remember, he hasn't retired yet. He was just not called up as part of the team going to the World Cup in 2023. But he hasn't yet retired, and nobody at the FA has said that it's time for the national team is over. So invariably, he's still a member of the Black Stars, even though he hasn't been playing for the Black Stars in recent times. So I don't know whether it's appropriate for him to get a national funeral, state funeral or not. But sometimes when footballers who are still playing for their national teams die in tragic circumstances such as this, this is what happens. A state funeral is offered them. Now, I know that this may be an exaggeration of the case, but if you remember years ago when the Zambia national team died in tragic circumstances on the coast of Gabon, they were given a state funeral. And so sometimes the circumstances leading to the death of an individual may decide that. I don't have an issue with him being given a state funeral. Frankly, anybody who has played for the national team and it's of significant importance to the national team, if they pass away, why shouldn't they be given a state funeral? I mean, why should Nabedi Pele, Azuma Napsi, Anthony Eboa qualify for state funeral? Should they only be left to military generals and politicians?
That's the question. That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, why should somebody, a prominent person such as Amachi Dede and all his exploits, if he passes away, I don't wish that on him, but if that happens, why shouldn't they be given state funeral? What should if the family is against that, that's fine. You know,
Yes.
state funerals should not always have to be at the presidential level. You can have categories. A state funeral, but not necessarily at the presidential level, where you have declared 3 days of mourning or something like that. You know,
Yes.
that's an option for the family. Some families may decide that even though, you know, our loved one has been of great significance to you, we just want a private funeral for him, which is what the Nkrumah family did when Nkrumah's body was returned to Ghana from Guinea. After the body was brought and all the jamboree and all the, well, not jamboree, but all the funeral arrangements were completed, the family decided that we want our son back in Nkrofo, and his body was sent to Nkrofo. I'm not equating the burial of an individual to a state funeral, but I'm just trying to say that some families may decide that despite all the achievements of our loved one and his importance to the state of Ghana, we will decide to have a private funeral for him. But look, I have no issues. If I may just repeat this again. If Azuma Nelson drops today and the state decide they're going to give him a state funeral, and they decide that they're even going to bury him at the military cemetery where Jerry Rawlings at Misahata, not at Tamils, Jerry Rawlings in Misahata, Kofiana, that we know that graveyard where that graveside where they've been buried. If they decide that, okay, because of what Azuma Nelson stands in Ghanaian sporting history, the state will take over and they're going to bury him. I personally don't have an issue with that. It can't be all. We can't only elect politicians and army generals. It just can't be. Because let's be honest, some of these sportsmen have propelled us to places where army generals and presidents have not been able to send us. But then I'm not saying that my suggestion should be taken. I'm not also saying that what I'm saying is right. It's just the case that we haven't decided. And in most countries, these things have not yet been decided. Who qualifies for state funeral? With the exception of president, perhaps vice presidents. In some countries, even if you're prime minister, there's not even a decision on that. It's only, I don't want to go too far, but you know, of this country, only limited to, you know, royalty.
Right. So,
by and large,
any of the topics with Nigeria, what's happening, Quadrant Force, you know, readiness to contest Mahama, and
no, you know, that is just the rigmarole of politics. I mean, in Nigeria's case, I don't think any of the candidates are going to make any difference. And we all know what the problems of Nigeria is. I mean, we may not want to see the stats out on radio, but we know what the problems of Nigeria is. It's a society that is, you know, rotten with corruption. And they themselves know it. And that's the reason the country is struggling to move from where it is to go to where it is supposed to be. You know, it's an economic hotspot, and when it takes its rightful place, almost all the countries in West Africa will move along with that, because that's how continents develop. If you look at Europe, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, some of these countries, these 3 countries I've mentioned, and you can add maybe the Netherlands and maybe some of these Scandinavian blocks. But primarily Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and some of these, you know, Scandinavian blocks have moved to where they are and have brought along the other countries in Europe with them simply because of the economic progress over the last 150, 200 years. If you take the United States, it's because of the economic powerhouses of states such as Texas, such as New York, such as California, such as the state of Michigan, such as places like Florida, that have Massachusetts, that by far and large have moved other states in the United States to where they are now. So every continent needs these economic hotspots. I mean, if you go to Canada, you know, British Columbia, places like that, Vancouver, these places have led the way in moving economies from one state to another. In our case, if we can't get a country like Nigeria taking its rightful place economically on the African continent, Kenya, maybe Libya and Egypt. Libya was there at some point. Some people decided to destroy it. Congo, and I mean Congo DR, not Congo Brazzaville, but Congo DR, South Africa, and maybe even Zimbabwe. A lot of the other African countries will just move along because you have offshoots of that, and countries benefit. Austria wouldn't be where it is if not because of Germany. Even Switzerland wouldn't be where it is if not because of Germany, Italy, France, and countries like that. Because a lot of the wealthy people in some of these countries, where do they go and save their money? the investment. Is it not in Switzerland?
Oh yeah,
yes. So
100%.
you need these big economic hotspots to take off. But unfortunately, in the case of Nigeria, this is a country that has been saddled with corruption, and it just seems not to be able to do anything about it.
Mm.
And it's not only Nigeria, but obviously Nigeria is a big country with a lot of almost nearly 200 million people now. So when you have an epidemic problem over there, it has an effect, that goes beyond the territory of Nigeria. So I can only wish them well, because we have our own problems and we've not been able to solve that, and our corruption levels are not getting any better anyway. So
all right,
it's not a criticism of Nigeria, it's just a point I wish to make.
This is your observation with Nigerians. Anyway, thank you very much, Felix. That was a very nice contribution. Appreciate that.
I just have to correct. It's not my observation with Nigerians. My observation with Nigeria as a country.
Yeah, that's what I said. I wanted to. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. Yeah, Joe.
Right.
So continue from where Felix left off, please.
Yeah. I thank him for all this great submission, but I understand all that he's saying. I do get it. I know Christian Achu was formerly with Chelsea. He was loaned to Newcastle, then later Newcastle bought him and all that. I understand all that. The point I am trying to make, and let me also emphasize, I am not against Christian Achu being given a state barrier or any other person else being given a state barrier. But what I am trying to say is that as a nation, probably this is the time. You see, sometimes certain issues, generate the conversation. And so as a nation, we need to generate that conversation. Like he rightly said, it is not only politicians who have to have the benefit of the state resources. Every other person should be entitled to. But then we need to generate that conversation into understanding that what are the modalities, who qualifies, in as much as whether you are a military man or a politician or you are a musician or a footballer, at what point do you qualify to get that state barrier or stuff like that? But on Christian Achu's wife, as I was saying, yes, she was invited, but the point is, what I am trying to make, and that is why I emphasize that I am not against Achu's preference of marrying a white lady. I am not against it. But any black woman, any black Ghanaian woman would have known that the moment she heard the news that her husband has been found dead, she will follow the corpse to wherever the corpse is going. And that is one significant culture we need to respect. You understand? Because you are the sole partner and you need to be there for your husband. That is why marriage is about life and death. So even in her death, you need to follow the corpse to wherever it is going. Yeah. You took the man from the family. And so if it is time for you to give back the man to the family, you have to give the man back to the family. Regardless, it is not for you to be telling me that he is still a former player of Newcastle, and so you've accepted an invitation to be at the stadium and to be receiving applause. You could be there, and that 1 minute silence could still be observed.
Anyway,
but like I said, it is his preference. It is his preference to marry a white lady who does not regard our culture, and I have no problem with that. But for me, if my wife or myself, I should die now, my wife will follow my corpse to wherever until my last point of where she cannot see me again.
Don't worry, you're not going to die.
We'll all die one day. You don't need to fear. We'll die one day.
Right, Zelensky. Now Ukrainians. Now it looks as if the borderline conflict seems to be hanging. Chairman, you've been following Ukraine-Russia war.
Yes, I've been following Ukrainian-Russian war. One thing Ghana government does not know is how good Ukraine has been to Ghana. One thing most Ghanaians don't know is the relevance of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR.
Chairman, let me with all due respect, let me also
okay, go on.
You remember when it got to the heated part of the incident when most of the blacks got stranded in Ukraine and they were only picking the people and were being very hostile to the blacks. You remember all that? How could they then be very helpful to us then? I don't get it. Not just as
thank you very much. Thank you very much. In the beginning, there was the word. In the beginning, Kwame Nkrumah went to the Soviet bloc, the Eastern Bloc, and particularly a brother of mine was one of the medical students who studied in Ukraine. All the African students who went there on the scholarship, Nkrumah's USSR scholarship, they went to Ukraine to study medicine. Dr. Kaiku, he recently passed away in Tema. If anybody knows the name, in Tema, was my brother's senior in Kharkov University. Today is Kharkiv. It's in Ukraine. So when they bombed them, it pierced into my heart. My sister-in-law comes from there. It's a Ukrainian. You know, I'm not saying because it's just me. So for me, I know them long before the Soviet split. So that part of the world, the Ukraine, Ghanaians, Africans, Indians, West Indians, the students were taken there for training, medical doctors.
Right.
You know, God bless them, the soul of all of them. You know, Ukraine. So there's the reason I'm saying Ghana government doesn't know. They don't even have a clue. If it was British government would have had a clue that in 1964, Ghanaians went there for training. They completed in 1971. The Soviet Union broke up in the 1990s, early 1990s. So this is what it was, that at least Ukraine is being bombed today. What has Ghana government told Russians? What has Ghana government done to support Ukrainians? The Ghana government today even doesn't know that we train Ghanaian doctors in Ukraine, which is sad. I'm not blaming them of today, but our structures and our systems are not good enough for others to follow. I'm not saying Kufuor must know, but at least if it was a British government, they would know. They've got all the records perfectly laid out. So they would have seen that Ghanaians in the 1960s, they went to train there. So we are grateful to Ukrainians. That's what I would say. I'm grateful to the Soviet system. That's what I would say. But we don't know. So our government is even confused. They don't know how to support it. Ghana government should have stood up to speak against the war. Kwame Nkrumah would have stood up to talk against the war that's happening between Ukraine and Russia, because they are the same. It's just like Ghana and Togo. When there was a plebiscite, when we split in parties, Togo and parties Ghana, we are all the same brothers. So this is what the knowledge is power. If I was there in Flagstaff House, I would have advised Kufuor to go, please stand up and make a stand. Even if we will give Ukrainians $1,000, it will be appreciated in the whole world. Ghana, we are a poor country, but at least we can afford to give $10,000 to support the cause of Ukrainians, and at the same time speak to Mr. Putin to stop. When Kwame Nkrumah was alive, the United Nations spoke to Kwame Nkrumah. My God, may his soul rest in peace. Spoke to Kwame Nkrumah during the Cold War. Nikita Khrushchev and the American president, I'll get his name. They spoke to Kwame Nkrumah to go to Vietnam to resolve the Vietnam War, to go and talk to them.
Right.
North Vietnam and South Vietnam were fighting. They sent Nkrumah because Nkrumah was good enough, you know, as a mediator. They sent him. When Nkrumah was going and you got to China, then there was a military takeover 57 years ago. Otherwise, Nkrumah was going to Hanoi, not Vietnam, to talk for peace for both sides. So Nkrumah was a unifier between USA, Dag Hammarskjöld, and Nikita Khrushchev of Soviet Union. So this is how far our story goes. I'm sad for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine because I'm now related to a Ukrainian. Not just because I'm related to them. My heart goes. They trained us for free, really. The Soviet Union trained Ghanaians for free, medical doctors, engineers, and all that. So please, I want our head of state, if he's listening, to go to Russia as the other people go. The Biden and Co. been going to all those the places. We are all brothers. Ukraine and Russia are the same. So Ghanaians, for us, we haven't got a problem. Let us go and speak to them. Please stop the war. Look at the amount of killings and compare that to the earthquake. The earthquake is by God. Syria and Turkey is by God. But for Ukraine, that type of earthquake is by Mr. Putin. They are the same. How they are destroying the buildings, the same thing we are experiencing in Ukraine, and this is what we have seen in Syria and Turkey. I'm very sorry, Dr. Morton, for this short response to a long question.
Oh, you've told me before. I remember you talked to me about the Ukrainian.
Yeah.
A bit of history you gave me.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. We have to be grateful. Nigerians were there. My brother was working here in World's Grave Hospital in West Midlands, so I saw the African and Indian, West Indian medical doctors who were mates of my brother in Ukraine. Indians, West Indians, Nigerians, and all, not just Ghanaians, Africans. Those people trained us. The Soviet bloc supported us. One, it would be expensive to come and study in UK. Okay, so thank you for this platform. Joe, next time, Joe, you got to call me at the background and I'll charge you, Joe.
But then,
Doc.
1 minute, Joe. I didn't get his name. He's saying that, Chairman, Ukrainians, they don't speak English. So if one studies in their country, I think this has popped up before. What is it?
Please, let me tell him. My brother is trained in England. Trained in St. Augustine's. Trained in English language. When the Ghanaian students went to Ukraine, you know what they did? As medical students, this interesting question. The first day they said they went to the university.
Mr. Kofi Ali is saying that.
No, wait, Kofi Ali, tell him to keep quiet and listen to me. Listen, immediately they arrived at the Soviet Union, the airport. They went to see. The next morning, the Ghanaians, they took them to the medical school in Ukraine. You know what they did? They put a dead body straight on there for them to be working on. Some fainted.
Oh dear.
The first language, before this, they trained them the Russian language, because you have to do the language side by side with the English language until they were okay they got to an equilibrium to carry on with their course. So we are grateful to the Russians. They spoke Soviet.
If one becomes a professional in whatever perspective the person must have studied, academically, and then Ghana, obviously, if there's not English trained, you don't think it makes any difference?
Oh, no. They knew that they were from English background. That's why it's good about a white man. The Ukrainian or the Russians, they knew that these guys from Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, Barbados, Jamaica, and whatnot, they are from English backgrounds. Everything's tailor-made for them. That's why white man is good, no matter which way you show. So they knew they were from English backgrounds. So the training considered that as well. Otherwise they couldn't have made it. They had to study the Russian language or whatever, side by side with their medical education, and it was wonderful, miracle.
It's just like how they did it. And Italy schools and going to Germany to study and all. Obviously, I think the world has become a global place. Sorry, Joe, you wanted to say something, and I wanted to. I made you held on.
No, I wanted to comment on the Ukrainian issue. So if you give me
go on, that's fine. You're live on
I think Mr. Kitiosen has probably I would say he has spoken on the human side of it. I mean, he's made us aware of his affection and of the relations. I mean, that he's got with Ukraine and that.
So how does Akufo-Addo make us understand that the war has affected Ghana economically?
You see, Doc, I am a student of peace. I've learned a little bit. I've engaged, with there is a video about beyond forgiving, the African way, that kind of peace, trying to, engage with peace and making peace work. And for me, in this Russian-Ukraine contest, I feel that there has not been a single leader in this world. Not even the UN has proved to be a leader. And that is what Mr. Kitiosen is talking about. And so it was up to... Yeah, because look, Doc, today, or you, Mr. Kitiosen, myself, yesterday, or even today, if we are able to survive the day, you will go home and your kid would embrace you and give you a kiss. Some Ukrainians and some Russians do not have that opportunity. As I speak to you now, someone is even dying now. He's been bombed, he's dying. And so it is up to the world leaders to know that just as you go home and your kids are happy they see you, some Ukrainian kids, some Russian military men also have to go home for their kids and their wives to see them. And so there has to be a leader and say, look, beyond all the barbaric nature of Putin or whatever, let us try to negotiate, because human lives are being lost. And so for me, as someone who has learned a little bit about peace and how to build peace,
right,
it is not always about trying to find fault with Putin, and Putin has done this and Putin has done that. It is about opening up a way that will bring about peace. And sometimes, you know, and if you read about the Beyond Forgiving, this woman in South Africa, this issue happened in South Africa. This woman whose daughter was killed by a South African guy, she was the one who was first to forgive the man, all because what the man said, you know, made her realize that the man was responsible and that she forgave her right from the onset. Sometimes there needs to be a leader who has to sit down and say, look, yeah, Putin might be wrong or whoever might be wrong, but let us try to see the human side of it.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, people are dying.
Putin does not seem to change. I mean, he's just...
How can Putin change? No, this is the issue. How can Putin change if you and Mr. Kitiosin has an issue and I want to come and negotiate? And then the moment I come in, I tell you that I'm going to give Mr. Kitiosin ammunition to come and fight you. How can Putin also understand? You understand? You've already taken a side.
Okay.
You've taken a side. Now, you know, in conflict resolution, there is that aspect whereby you have to allow conflict to reach a certain peak before negotiations come in. I understand that. But today, now, probably Putin will be ready to sit down on the negotiation table. But he's not ready because of the pride. And because of what the West is doing, he is not ready to call for the peace talk. And the West is also not ready to call for the peace talk. And so who is suffering?
That's right.
The whole world is suffering. But there has to be that leader, the UN or whoever. And that is what Mr. Kitiosin has pointed rightly. And therefore, we as Africans and for the black people, we know. Now, sometimes Mr. Kitiosin, his grandson or his granddaughter might wrong him. And one day he will call the grandson and say, look, you are the younger one. I'm your grandfather. But look, I have forgiven you. I want you to do this, blah, blah. That is our nature. And so I'm expecting an African leader to wake up and say, look, today I am going to Russia, talk to Putin. Tomorrow I'm going to Vladimir Volensky or whatever his name is. Talk to him. Let us see. Because now I can see that it is pride. It is pride. Either Putin feels that I do not want to call for peace talk for me to be seen as a coward because the West is all sponsoring. Today, do you know that Putin is trying to leave the nuclear disarmament program? Now we should look at the consequences that's going to happen on the whole world. You understand? So we need to look at it in the human aspect rather than all of us accusing, oh, Putin is a killer, Putin is the next Hitler, Putin is this, Putin is that. And look, let us not forget, Putin has allies. Putin has allies. And so today, if we are all going to the West, those of you in Germany and whatever, you're all going to support Ukraine. What if China decides to support Russia? What if India decides to support Russia? What if North Korea decides to support Russia? What is the essence? And so I feel there has to be a leader. And then in this context, the world has failed. And it is unfortunately the Ukrainians who are suffering the more. Yes, Russians are having casualties. But the point is, Ukraine is suffering more and the world is suffering more today. They say now if you go to Asda or Morrison or whatever, you cannot even buy tomatoes. There's no tomatoes. Today, there are certain products, you can't get it because of one or two issues that relate to the Ukrainian war.
Oh,
and
so
unfortunately...
And Nanado was right then. I mean, he's 100%.
Nanado is not right because, look, we have arable lands. The Ukrainian war should have given the African the market. Any reasonable African leader like Ghanaian leader, if he was reasonable, this is the opportunity for Ghanaian agri-products to be at the world market. This is that because we have the arable land. What is it that Ukraine produce that we cannot produce in Ghana to ship outside? This is the time to make a market for Ghanaian produce. But here we are sitting down there talking about Ukraine affecting Ghana. Which bomb lands in Ghana? Which bomb? We have arable lands, and that is what one thing. If I have an opportunity to meet any of the presidential aspirants, it doesn't matter whether MPP or NDC. One thing I am going to suggest is to cancel out the national service thing that send people to mortuary and all that. Make it national agricultural service. That when you finish university, at least for 2 years, you need to be on an agricultural land to be producing, a state-owned farm to be producing, so that we can have a huge amount of rice, a huge amount of maize. And today, there are no flour. No flour. Today, there is a shortage of maize. We should be producing it. Africa should be producing it to the world by now. But here we are, begging. But, Mr. Doctor, probably I would digress just 1 second.
Okay.
On one thing. You see, and I said this earlier on, Mr. Kitiosin probably didn't understand or didn't agree with me. I respect that. You see, something has happened recently or in about a week or so. Mr. Akufo-Addo, the president of Ghana, went to Germany to ask a German foreign minister to beg China to forgive us our debt. And he did not end there. He's taking Ghana's taxpayers' money to board another private rented jet to go to China to beg for debt forgiveness or debt restructuring or whatever. But Mr. Akufo-Addo has never found the right to engage Ghanaians in begging them that, look, we are in a hard time. Your money, I'm going to use it for this. You see the mentality of the black man. For Chinese people, he's even asked German people to beg Chinese people on our behalf. And he is following up to go and beg Chinese people. But for Ghanaians, we don't deserve begging. This is the mentality of the president we have. That he talks about Africa beyond aid, but he disrespects Africans. He hates his own people. This is the mentality of a man we have as president. Do you understand? He is ready to go and beg China. China, oh please, when we owe you 2 cedis, we can give you 1 cedi today and give you the next 1 cedi in 10 years' time. But for Ghanaian people, whose only crime is not to go to men's gold and be called criminals, but to live in their government and invest in Ghana, their money is being used for debt, whatever the president doesn't give a damn. To the extent that even the former Chief Justice has been involved in begging that the state forgives them and kind of see their plight. Yet, he is not concerned about those Ghanaians, but he will go and beg China. He will go and tell German foreign minister to go and beg China on his behalf. That is the problem. If you have people like this leading you, no wonder Ukraine will be the target. No wonder Ukraine war will be the alpha and the omega of our problems. No wonder he will not even want to engage with Russia or Ukraine to find a lasting peace, because that is the panacea for his argument. If Ukraine and Russia war should cease now, what argument is he going to make again? The earthquake in Turkey or I choose death? Is that the next one? And so he would want the Russia-Ukraine one to linger on so that he can always have an excuse that, oh, because of Russia-Ukraine. And Doctor, I want to sum up by saying this. Look, the IMF and the whatever country director in Ghana, she should be ashamed of herself. And you see, sometimes we've got to be very bold. If you go, you know the profligacies of this administration. You know that in the country you come from, that you are made whatever, now you are now the IMF country director for Ghana or whatever. You know that in that country, you cannot have a presidential house that has over 2,000 workers in there who are doing nothing. You know that in your country where you come from, a president will not be using a state money to be renting private jets left, right, and center. And then you, instead of you being blunt and telling the president what it is, because of diplomacy, you come and tell us that Ghana was doing fine before Russia, Ukraine. Since when did Ukraine bomb land in Ghana? That it's all of a sudden the bomb landed at the Bank of Ghana and all the money has been destroyed. Since when? What kind of? And this is what I'm saying. If we are going to be reliant on these people, they will tell us what we want to hear. And this is what we are hearing. And unfortunately, today, Mr. Kitiosin has said it, 50-something years now, since the only icon of Africa died. He was overthrown. He was overthrown. Since he was overthrown, we have never seen any hope. We have never seen any restoration. The black man has been left in limbo, and especially the Ghanaians We've had comedians upon comedians upon comedians, but the comedian now in power is more than all comedians because he's a waste of space and a waste of everyone's time.
Well, that's why you've got the fun. It's up to you.
Someone was sitting somewhere and printing a Bible to give you for you to read, but he didn't tell you how many Ghanaians have been employed. You just wake up and say factories have been built. How many Ghanaians are employed today in Ghana?
All right. So Mr. Kofi Ali is saying that he doesn't think Ghanaians are much interested in the affairs of Ukraine because perhaps, and then he's saying Joe wanted Akufo-Addo to provide leadership now to the world that the world needs. Where were you when NATO was rating bombs on Libya? Joe, I think this
maybe Mr. Kofi Ali has not been following me. And this is, if he understands, I've always been having arguments with him that when even the African, when the ECOWAS and all of them have sat down there for Libya to go that way, then there is that's why I've always said the AU and the ECOWAS are toothless bulldog because they've sat down there for Gaddafi to be killed and all that, and they've not said anything. I am against it. I am against the African Union. No uttering any word when Africans are dying on the Mediterranean Sea.
People are beginning to realize the effect of the absence of Gaddafi now. A lot of people, they've seen how it's not done the African good because Gaddafi has made all the world understand that we were the all these foreigners and Western side were just our properties. Anyway. I've got Mr. Kofi Ali himself to speak. Good afternoon, sir. Very well. Thank you very much.
Dr. Morton, on point of order, when did we make Mr. Kofi Ali a sir? I didn't see him in Buckingham Palace. You call Kofi Ali sir. Okay, good afternoon, sir.
His was done at Northern Ghana.
You had
He was knighted in Northern Ghana.
Saying,
I don't know when he was knighted. Oh, well, welcome. Congratulations, Mr. Kofi Ali.
So you are not Sir Kofi Ali. Anyway.
You see, when we are talking about when someone is making an argument, can you see?
Okay.
When you talk about Libya, and the person also mentioned ECOWAS and African Union, you ask the person, does this person know what he's talking about? ECOWAS is the responsibility of West Africa. It's responsible for West African nations, and there are 15 of them. African Union is responsible for the countries on the continent, and there are 54 of them, of which Libya is one. Can you see?
Yes.
The way we do things in the African Union, we go there like we go to United Nations and go and be part of what is done. Whatever role in West Africa we are given, we do it. In ECOWAS is our business. Our business. And when you start hearing people saying that Kwame Nkrumah was asked to go to Hanoi by the Americans, when he was going there, they overthrew him. And you didn't learn any lesson from that? That those who ask him to go, part of the plot, they know that he will go because he believes in himself. But he's not also aware he has enemies waiting to remove him. So they play on him. If my father made a mistake, must I be stupid too to make the same mistake?
No, never.
You wake up saying you have an in-law and friends in Ukraine. And because of that, Ghana should go and be in the middle of it. Hold it. A man and his wife are fighting. They were all part of the Soviet Union. And you go in to talk to them. Did you ask why they are fighting? So you went and telling the man who is beating her husband, and the husband is trying to defend himself. And you ask, hold it. Why are you fighting? They say, oh, he's an idiot. He has not fed her. He said so many things.
Right.
So then another man, after you left the room, they continued the fight. Another man came in. Before he would come in, the rich man, he It's my husband. And they say, well, I'll even give him a job. And you see.
Is it in relation to Putin feeling he's not being dealt with fairly, and so he'd continue the fight?
You see, what they are all fighting over, Putin, Europeans, Americans, and the Chinese government, they are fighting over us. Over us. We are the idiots. The raw materials are on our land and we are the market. Have you seen any Russian car in Ghana before?
That I remember.
Why are all the cars from Europe and occasionally America? Even no one Chinese car. These guys are fighting on who will control the world. Who will decide? Why do we go to United Nations and almost half the countries of the world voted what America wanted? More than half. Americans, when you have an election, they have a way of influencing in the name of democracy. That's why most of you even say you don't want to have anything to do with the United Nations. You don't want any control because you know that they control your leaders. You know. Good. So let us sit back and look at our own interests in this war. India, you know what they said? They said we are not interested. Together. Anybody, we will not do what anyone wants. We want to buy the oil from Russia. Russians are aware that Europeans want to mop up the land of Ukraine. That's all. And then they will put their NATO military there. But when they sign an agreement that nuclear resources should be Soviet Union, Russia will be fine, you understand? There was a clause that said no extension of the European Union is towards the West Russian border. It was agreed. Today, Ukraine have changed their stance. The Russians are feeling it's an existential threat. You think when they finish with Ukraine there, the next one is China. The next one is China, and China is aware. You are those, you and I, we don't know. We thought the world is the Bible. We sit down, close our eyes, and we pray to our Father. But now they're telling us it's not our Father anymore, it's our mother. They don't know the sex of God again. So you see, let us wake up and stop this black man and the white man and all this nonsense. Let us look at our own economic interests in this thing. And this is the position where it was very, very clear about that independence. Education is very important. Education can fail us. A whole chief justice, no green. She want to give the Ghana government the money. Then you are working for Ghana government. And Ghana government is paying your salary. Ghana government is always borrowing. How can I employ you to work for me and I'll be borrowing money to pay you? Huh?
Well,
can you see?
Yes, sir.
If you are working for me to be rich, isn't it? Would you employ someone to work for you to be poor?
No way.
Huh?
No way.
Will you employ someone to work for you to be rich? And then the person is working for you, and every time you go to IMF, go to World Bank, go and borrow money, they should pay you from almost 40 people for Ghana. All of them, all the Ghana government.
Well, last week, so yeah, you remember so far, he's had a bit of an arm's length with Gabi last week, and then throwing tantrums.
You see, I am laughing at them. She's just
Gabi or Trader, but
she's just an example. She's an example. God will catch all of them. You see, they are those who are sitting behind the rotten wood. You see, when her money was trapped, is it today banks in Ghana government conniving with them, taking money from people, Ghanaians, and they turn around to say, no, we will give you the condition. Ghana government, that bond is not it's the Bank of Ghana who should be talking about negotiating. Why are they not negotiating with the foreigners? They only they are telling Ghanaians that we are not paying you and doing it with you. What have we become? You see, the government cannot continue to live on borrowing. You borrow, you went to beggars in Ghana. If an employer starts begging from his employees, you understand? The job becomes something else.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Well, we've spoken about the Ukraine and all that. Recently, Kwabena Dufour, has shown his interest in the campaigning to also become a president by contesting Muhammad. Now, don't you think we can have a change with respect to the repetitive changes we have in leadership? At least somebody new to look at the system. You think it's going to make any difference?
To be honest with you, Cognitive was part of the rock. It's just like Sufaya Kufadu. Kufadu, I do to it, all those issues. They are all part of it. See,
what do you mean?
Let me tell you something. You see, the two-party system will have been the best for us. But there is something bigger than both of them. And this is where we are saying, and none of you want to listen.
So, well, you don't even trust these two parties already. So, what do you mean?
No. I don't expect anything good out of them. Why do you think the Nigerians are fighting? They know anyone who comes, there's nothing they are going to do. They know. This is not new. It has been like that since 1960. When I tell Joe at the age of 17, I ran away from Ghana, Joe is laughing at me. Well, this might be his grief. I'm not cursing. We are telling you there's a serious problem. Let us open our eyes. And you people sit down there. Do you know we don't have any factory in Ghana? All the factory you see, they are foreign. Our children don't have job. Here, at the age of 17, by the time you are leaving school, job is waiting for you. So you are paying your pension. You are paying your pension.
We've maybe it's just the scale of it, but we've always had unemployed people in Ghana, right from the onset of the country itself being created.
We have what?
We've always had unemployers, people not working. Maybe for the scale of it, and as you do a comparative statement from the history.
Yeah, you see, I'll call you back.
All right, no problem. No problem. All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Kofi Ali. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Morton, I'm here.
You know, with the Kofi Ali is, as you making an option for these two parties, that's the NDC and MPP. He said he doesn't see anything good coming out of these parties, though he had rather seen that this party would have been they should have, rather been there for the country, but there is something bigger than these two parties. What is it they lacking that you think you're looking up to these emerging parties would be there for us?
Dr. Morton,
you talked about trains and ships and other things that we Ghana no longer have. You're going to make sure all these things are in place, good jobs and just the basic amenities. I mean,
yeah, that's right. I mean, as students of economics, those of us who studied or who were taught economics understand the economic development in a quite straightforward way. When we talk of gross domestic product, we understand it. That is all factors in Ghana working. If you like, let me break it down. Let us talk of full employment, and I mean full employment in the country. Everybody is working. Everybody of working age is working, assuming that's the case. That is what every government of Ghana must do. Everybody's input is necessary and important. Even the fisherman who catches fish from the sea, his input must be captured. And the farmer on the land, his or her input will be captured. So that we put it all together, gross domestic product. Then if we have to sell some to outside world, it's money for Ghana. But for us, our governments have not been supportive of these self-employed people who are farmers, fish farmers and cocoa farmers and all that. We don't know what is going on. Ghana government hasn't got a clue because it is disorganized. That is why I've maintained that careful planning prevents pathetic performance. There are cocoa farmers in Joe's backyard, Prestia. There are cocoa farmers there. There are some in Western region, not just Ashanti region. There are cocoa farmers in most parts of Ghana, especially the Western region and even Central region, then Ashanti region. But how many of these cocoa farmers are captured in Ghana government's books? I'll think about 20%. Go to Nzima area. the western region up to Bronx half region into Ivory Coast.
Chairman, I'm afraid you'd have to hold on because what you're saying, Mr. Kofi Ali wouldn't hear, and he's back. You want to bear with me, please. So I'll pick him, and then when he can hear, please. All right, Mr. Kofi Ali. Oh, that's fine. You want to continue from where you left off? Well, you were talking about something bigger than the two parties, the NDC and then the NPP. I think Chairman Yosen says they have the option. So maybe we have to give them attention and they bring that to incompletion.
Exactly, that is where the problem is. Exactly what my brother is doing is the problem. Call himself a student of economics.
Oh, in fact, I cannot hear Mr. Ali properly. I don't know why.
And credibility.
Can you hear you now?
Tell us what
yeah, it's better. It's better.
Okay.
And he's talking about the salaries of people captured in Ghana. But I see talking about GDP means gross domestic product. Can you see?
Right.
Gross domestic product. So it means in an economy, domestic economy, that is economy as a nation, all the total productivity inside that and the gross of that. So what he's saying there is that what that is saying is very technical. We have GDP, we have GNP, and we have NNP. Can you see?
Yes.
You use NNP to measure what we call per capita income. GDP is talking about all the economic activities within the economy. So if American firms are there, their productivity will be captured. It's the German, and so it's always big. That is not saying that if you want to look at GNP to get exactly, remember, Ghanaians will also be outside Ghana.
Right.
Who are working, and they have factories outside. So you then look at what? GNP, the nationals of the nation, the gross national product of the nation. Then, when you then look at NNP, you are looking at the net national product. Here, that is where you capture the input, because it will have to do with the what? With the income minus, remember, that will come from GNP minus depreciation.
Okay.
You understand?
I
so
do.
GDP of America, when you are calculating NNP of America, you understand? KFC all over the world, or all over the world is captured because the firm belongs.
No. See, Kofi Ali is confusing himself. Go straight to the point.
But not to go too much into this. Why do you think the Americans brought down the Chinese?
Dr. Morton, I better leave. I'm sorry.
Right.
Wait.
Can you be snappy, Mr. Kofi Ali? We have 5 minutes to go, please. And I've got Sir Gabu to speak as well, please.
The reason why I'm saying this is that they are fighting America, China, Russia, US, and Europeans over the secrecy of their technology. Everyone is calling the other one spy, isn't it? That technology is what produces convert natural resources into economic goods that we are fighting over in West Africa. So what you are not realizing is that we are only relying on the ship because they are the product. They are the product. Do you understand?
All right.
Of the technology. So when you then have us importing all the machines, even wood, which are economic product, we use other people's product, finished goods. What does that make us? So then, I'm telling you, that is where the problem is. We don't have any research center. Only research center.
Okay, let me pick
That's the
Mr.
secret. If you go to America, a lot of their places, you can't even walk near the town. And in our case, everything is out there. We don't even have to make anything. And you are telling me one old machine brought from Germany and put it to your country. And
All
you are
right,
telling us you are
Mr. Ofiali, let me pick Segabo to also speak today. He's not speaking at all. Let me, if you want to land in a minute for me, please.
Okay, let me land because it's a very deep issue.
Okay.
And until we are able to understand that we need to have our own laboratories and science and do everything, all the machine ourselves, we'll never be free from.
Thank you very much. Dear. I'm trying to get Mr. Gabu, but I think he's written something more before he go on. If I can get him, let me just see if I can read what he said again. Right. So it's Joe sounds too fastidious and idealistic to appreciate anything the NPP government has done in the country. I wish to remind him and the wider audience out there that we live in a 70 billion pounds dollar economy with unlimited needs and wants. Anybody who say that the one district, one factory project has not employed any single Ghanaian has not been honest to himself and not to the people of Ghana. When Jesus healed the blind, there were some Pharisees and other religious leaders who doubted it. Even after the blind man and his mother confirmed it, they still doubted because they were not prepared to accept it and give Jesus his due credit. Yo.
Yeah, Doc.
I think you're looking at this with a blind eye, what the NPP has done.
I didn't even know say Gabo still existed. I mean, with all due respect, not him, but I didn't know he still existed.
Sometimes he manages the school time with the radio program.
If he is still alive and still believing in the NPP, I wish him well and a very good afternoon to him. But
we have just 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, what I am trying to say is that I think if there is anything we need to commend Baumia for, is the kind of things he said that today is biting back. And so we need to commend him for being that prophetic. That if the fundamentals are weak, what the exchange rate will do what? Expose you. The unemployment rate today will tell you if there is one district, one factory. If the fundamentals are strong today, we wouldn't have £1 to 15, almost 16 cities. And so for that, we need to commend Baumia for being so prophetic. And so for me, I have no qualms with anyone. It is not a matter of me refusing to appreciate the fact that Nanado has done well or not. That is not for me to be the modicum of truth or something like that. All I am saying is that the things are out there. People are feeling it. Dr. Morton, in fact, I'm going to Ghana within the next month or so, and I'm even scared because people call me and they tell, look, you go here, you buy sugar, you go the next minute, you ask, and the price has just shot up, and it's scary. Ghana is now ranked as the second most expensive country on earth after Dubai. If you don't know, that is the level of governance these people have turned us into. And so if sympathizers of this political party, for me, you see, the problem I have with the MPP now, especially this MPP, is that they are not only destroying Ghana, they are destroying the political party. And people like Segabu, you have a future. You live in the UK, you are intelligent, blah, 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 blah. You have a future in that political party. Assuming after the next 30 years, when you've been in opposition, Ghanaians give you the mandate again. Maybe Segabo, you'll be appointed a minister of state.
Segabo, maybe you'll become a president of Ghana. You never know.
You condoning this Nyafu governance, this buga governance, that you are destroying your career.
What is
You are
Nyafu
destroying.
Buga Buga government?
Oh, this buga government, I said it. And
All
I
right,
say
guys. I think
Nanaya
our
is
time is
5
up.
years now. Nanaya is 5 years.
No,
And Nanaya
Nanaya cannot do anything.
can lead this country better than Akufo.
Nanaya that is being cared for now cannot do anything. I'm sorry. Anyway,
Nanaya can
thank you
govern.
guys.
Doctor. Lastly, I mean, let us all pray that something happens. Because look, the Ukraine issue we're all talking about, it affects all of us. Let us all pray that leadership rises to the occasion.
All
It
right.
is not for Biden to be visiting Ukraine, and that will not solve the problem. If Biden is a leader, if Boris Johnson is a leader, bring two people who are at each other's neck, bring them together, negotiate, bring peace. That is what leadership is about. It is not about going to Ukraine and Ukrainians are dying. You are there.
We're
Talking
picking up
about going to
1 o'clock news. Hopefully, I'll see you.
anyway. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully, we see you next weekend. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.